Welcome back to the Daily Drum on WHUR and Sirius XM Channel 141. This is the Insight segment. I'm Harold Fisher. The summer vacation season has come to an end, but that doesn't mean being outside has. As a matter of fact, there is a growing number of fun seekers in our community who are finding enjoyment in the great outdoors. I'm talking about camping. Now, you may not necessarily associate pitching a tent and sitting around a campfire with people of color, but you are going to learn tonight that it's actually something that we do and are doing more of. Joining me tonight to talk about camping for the culture are James Butch Goodwin, founder and owner of Goombay Adventurers. Darlene Drummond is a camping enthusiast, and Katedra Nixon is also a camping enthusiast. Thank you all so much for joining me to talk about this. This is going to be a really fun and informative conversation.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let me ask you this first, Butch.
Okay.
Because this is a different kind of we outside. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You know, how did you get into camping as recreation?
Well, I grew up camping. I grew up in a summer camp program that my mother sent me to for 2 weeks. It was Camp Pleasant, Goodwill, and Moss Hollow. So we went down when I was 7 years old, and I ended up working every position, counselor, all the way to director. And then I worked in the agency that ran the camp up until 2017. So I had a very early start. And I also was a Boy Scout. So I was a Boy Scout at the age of 10 until I stopped going in 14 because I just thought I was too old and too cool to be a Boy Scout anymore. But that's my roots right there. Those are my roots as far as camping.
So here's the thing. Because for our listeners, and some of you know, you may have heard Darlene Drummond's name before. She is a dear friend of mine. We've known each other for years. But Darlene just told me last year, we were talking on the phone, and I'm like, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going camping. And I'm like, you're doing what? Camping? You mean like in the woods with the bugs and the snakes and the crickets? And she was saying, yes, that's what I'm doing. And I said, yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm just
definitively said, I'm absolutely not doing that.
Yeah, I'm absolutely not doing that. And she said, yeah, I'm going camping with Black folks. And I was like, what? But so apparently, yes, this is a thing. And I'm surprised, and I love to talk about the stuff that I just don't know. So Darlene, how did you first get involved in this? How did you decide that you wanted to go camping?
So I grew up camping. My father had a 25-foot Shasta. I was a Girl Scout.
A what? What is a Shasta?
A 25-foot Shasta is an RV. And so my dad had an RV. Willie Drummond was part of this RV club and was taking us from campsite to campsite when I was a teenager and much younger. And I also went to Girl Scout camp in West Virginia every summer, and I loved it. Now, in the earlier years, I was one of the very few Blacks that were going to Girl Scout camp and that kind of thing. I was usually like it's like maybe 2 or 3 of us. That's it. And so I loved it. And so as I got to be an adult and grown, I was like, I'm not doing that anymore. So I decided to just get on planes and do hotels. But I had a health challenge. And as a result of the health challenge, I was like, you know what? I need to get back to what I truly enjoy, what makes me happy, being outside. It's a whole vibe. Especially you will find that with the people, a lot of them are business professionals. Some of them are entrepreneurs. Some of them are lawyers, attorneys, nurses, just in all different types of profession. And we just got tired of the digital age and wanted to just get outside. We wanted to unplug. We don't want to be on no Zooms. We just want to be outside, and it may not seem glamorous and all of that, but if you see my tent, it's extra cute. But my point is, I have all the luxuries. But my point is, it's just the vibe. And the Goombay community is just unlike any other. So long story short, I call him James, everybody else calls him Butch. I knew him. He was always trying to encourage me to get out. And I was like, okay, when I get my health together, I'm going to be out there. So 2024, I challenged myself and I said, I am going to now be a part of the Goombay community and I'm going to ride it out. So that January, he had a walk um, in Silver Spring. It was during a Black History Month. So I took that hike. Listen, it was Tylenol Central when I got home, but I felt so good. I felt so good. They was like climbing up in the trees and I was taking pictures of them and everybody was just loving it. And it was different ages. People had their dogs, their children. It was just such a great outing. But what made it so much fun was nobody had a care in the world. We were all just a group of people doing their traditional way of having fun that didn't cost us anything but a small little entry fee to be a part of some fun. And so I kind of took it from there.
Let me ask Kat about this because, you know, Kat, you are an extreme camper. And I want to touch on that just a little bit. And then I really want to talk about some foundational stuff, some baby steps. But you just came back from camping overseas with Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes, indeed. Sure enough, we did Tanzania. So Butch and I also are part of our group, the Black Adventure Collective. And under that group, we look for those challenges, those experiences that we can curate for our culture outside of the country. And what better way to start than in Africa, you know, on our ancestral land. And that was definitely the challenge I was looking for in a different experience. And camping, that's the longest I've camped out. You
How
know,
long?
7 nights. 7 nights? 7 nights. That was the longest I've camped out. That was the most days consecutive that I've hiked. So we hiked for 8 days. That was the most consecutive. The total miles were up there along with, you know, because we've done an overnight 20-mile hike before. So the total miles were, you know, in my range. But it was just definitely a different type of hike, you know, different.
Wow. Butch, talk to me about baby steps for someone who is going from I'm not doing that to maybe I would like to do that. What is the speech? What do you tell them about what they have to do to get started?
Okay, well, I would always start people on what I call our glamping trips. So glamping trips are, we're going camping and your car is in the parking lot, which is not that far away. So you can bring a lot of, I call it stuff. You know, you can bring your big tent, you can bring your shower tent, you can bring your bathroom tent. Sometimes we camp out in campgrounds that already have a good restroom and a good shower. Those are good starting points. Then you can progress to something a little bit more rustic, like our backpacking trips, where you put everything on your back and we just go into the woods and you just have to bring everything you got. And we always stress, you know, make it light, so don't bring a lot of stuff. But they can just start off on a glamping trip, you know, and it doesn't take that much equipment. It takes a tent, probably some kind of air pad or air mattress. And the glamping trip, you want to bring your chair because a lot of it is more social. Yeah, a lot of social.
Yeah, and where do you go in this area? Where do you take the people who, you know, sign up with Goombay Adventurers? And I'm talking about the newbies, the rookies.
Very newbies. There's various campsites actually almost in the inner city, not inner city, but there's Watkins Park over in Largo. There is Greenbelt. We had a group of campers and Darlene was there where they camped out over in Greenbelt Park. There's Cedarville. But a lot of times we go out to Shenandoah. We'll camp out there, you know. That's always a good hot spot, or somewhere up in Catoctin Mountains, which is north of us, you know. So there's a lot of good campgrounds in the area.
So how long are these rookie or newbie camping trips? And what do you do when you're out there other than sit outside. I'm asking because, like I said, I'm not. So, I don't know. I just don't know.
So we try to have activities planned. Like our last trip was Camp Palooza, and for me, Camp Palooza is almost like an adult summer camp. So we come up with a good schedule of activities. The earliest you want to get there is probably Thursday, and we leave on Sunday. But you can also come on Friday. Some people just come on Saturday and leave on Sunday. But we have a whole list of activities that we do. And Palooza is a trip, is a camping trip that we center around a swimming pool. So we have a lot of pool activity, like pool wars or different races, or we even had the sound bath activity in the pool. So that's always a really good one for beginners. They can also purchase a meal package, so they don't have to do the outside cooking. Most of our campers will bring their own stuff and they'll cook their own food, but a lot of times you just want to just kind of go down to the, I call it the bunkhouse, and your food is there waiting for you. So
the beauty is, one of the things that we try to do is just take it back to childhood. You know, we live such a serious life with all of our responsibilities. So when you take those responsibilities away and just make everything kind of like an easygoing lifestyle, and bringing those childhood aspects back then, but at an adult level, you know, it just makes for a great experience for people. They end up, you know, having the best time. Like, why was I not doing this before? When are you guys doing this again? So it's creating that whole vibe, you know, so that an individual, a camper, can understand that it's not too hard, it's not too challenging, and you just start, you know, we meet you where you are. Just all you got to do is come, trust us, and just come, and we got your rest.
You know, I do want to ask you about this, Kat, because I think back, this kind of reminds me of, you know, 35, 40 years ago or what have you, you know, certainly telling my age, where Black people did ski, but you just didn't hear a lot about it. Black people did scuba dive, but you just didn't hear a lot about it. And so now, in my circle, for example, thanks to Darlene, I've gone from what to yes, Black people do camp. And when you talk about, you know, the culture and the vibe, Kat, you know, what is it that people really kind of get out of that when you're talking about, you know, Black people kind of coming together for the culture?
So, when you are able to experience the things that you generally wouldn't experience, and then they're able to experience them with people that look like you, and not feel like the oddball out because the people, you know, generally don't look like you when you do these things, and not feel like the oddball out. It is a whole different type of vibe. It lets your hair down. It allows you to understand and know that it's okay if I want to do something different. It's okay if I want to experience something different. And I love the fact that I can experience it with people that look like me. It's okay when, you know, we understand our culture, but we can dig into something additional. We understand when we go back in time what we grew up on, if we talk about the plastic couches. So when you go back and are able to dig in to just your history and your path and have those conversations while you're enjoying these new experiences, that's the vibe that you create. It's understanding each other and understanding our history, you know, in times when we grew up. And although we grew up in different places, but being able to connect off of those things, it's a whole different experience. You have fun doing these things with people that don't look like you, but you have even more fun when you're able to do them with people that do look like you, because there's another level of understanding between each other.
You know, I have so many questions for all of you, because after the break, I'm going to talk about, you know, how much does this really cost, from, you know, from the newbies all the way to, you know, somebody who wants to do the Kilimanjaro thing. I want to talk about safety, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, I'm sure that's really, you know, an important thing. But before I do, Butch, for someone who wants to find out more, you know, online or social media, how can they reach out to you?
Our website is goombay.net, N-E-T, but we're on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And if they can just look for Goombay Adventurers Or we also have a sports segment. We do Goombay kickball too. That's pretty big as well. So if they do searches for those, they'll definitely find us.
All right. Thank you so much. We are going to take a really quick break, but don't forget, you can hear this in every edition of the Daily Drum Insight segment via podcast on WHUR.com. The original Quiet Storm with Raheem Devon is next on WHUR FM. This conversation, Camping for the Culture, continues on Sirius XM, channel 141 in just a few seconds. Welcome back to the Daily Drum on Sirius XM channel 141. I'm Harold Fisher. We continue our conversation about camping for the culture. Black people outside, really outside in the woods.
Hey, Harold, you had mentioned when you say Black people, the one thing I always tell people, camping has 5 different levels.
Well, hold on before you go before you get to the levels. People need to know who's talking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's James. You see, because see,
I went off script.
Right. See, Black people don't know how to act. So that's Lord, James Butch Goodwin.
Hey.
Founder and owner of Goombay Adventurers. Darlene Drummond is a camping enthusiast, and Katedra Nixon, also known as Catch. He's also a camping enthusiast. So now, Butch.
Okay.
Let's talk about those 5 levels. Go right ahead.
Okay. So 5 levels are, you have your serious backpackers that are just hardcore, we camping out, no frills, we're gonna camp in the woods. Then you have your I would call these people your glampers who camp out at campgrounds. Mm-hmm. Then you have your car campers who they'll go to campground and sleep in their car, or they have these special contraptions that they use.
Really?
Oh, yeah. And for the older crowd, you'll have your RV campers. Like, for example, I have a buddy named Arnell Mumford who just had his big Coles Point Beach camping trip. Well, there was about 50 RVs out there. You have some beach campers too, but these guys, these folks, all they do is RV camp. Now, granted, some of the RVs look like luxurious apartments, but for them, it's still camping. So,
but that's probably what I would do.
Yeah, you probably do very well with that. Yeah,
the bougie campers.
There you go. Yep. So
you would like
that's
Riverside.
Definitely
yeah.
Darlene, explain to me. I remember. I don't know exactly when it was. It may have been this year, maybe last year. I can't remember. But I remember calling you, and you did the FaceTime thing, and I said, "Where are you?" and you said, "I'm camping, honey." And I saw all of this video. Explain to me some of the equipment that you had, because you were in a tent, but you were outside on the ground. You were not in an RV. You were not in a cabin. Give me the rundown of your equipment, for example.
I am the wrong person. But anyway.
Yeah,
he's the glamper.
You're right.
Listen, if you ask Butch, he gonna be like, don't ask Darlene that question. Okay. So for me, like at this point, when I first started, little plug, I had a camel crown tent where it had poles and you had to put it together. Took me about 15-20 minutes. Okay, now the girl, then I am on the PhD level where I have instant tents, the Coleman Instant, 8-person, pop that joint up in like 2 minutes or less. Yeah, so I'm on the instant kick. So you can go from something very small to something very lavish. Now, I have, for my personal equipment, it depends on where Goombay Adventures is taking me. Mm-hmm. So, for example, for Appaloosa, when we were beach camping, I had a hub tent, which was an octagon shape, and I had like a whole setup. And then I had a canopy with a whole kitchen setup. And my kitchen setup is like a propane tank. I have like a Blackstone grill. I have like a charcoal grill. So because I'm a big cook, I love to cook. Everybody knows about me and my cooking situation. So I have all the cooking apparatuses that you can possibly purchase for camping. I have it in ease. Now in my sleeping, I have a cot, I have a comforter. I have a beautiful pillow. I have a whole setup. So I do my stuff based upon the season. So because it was the summer, I didn't need a sleeping bag. I didn't need my double buddy heater, but I definitely had my fans and I had all of the things that made me cool and easy. Now, when the weather's getting a little warmer, guess what I pull out? I pull out my propane heater. So you can get either a big propane tank or you can get like the small little canisters. It depends on where you're going and how long you're going to be there. But for the most part, your basic is you have a tent that is comfortable for you and your size. Now, everybody doesn't know this, but I have a dog, Samson. Samson even has his own little tent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Riverside.
A pup tent. A pup tent.
Yes.
Samson had his own tent. He had his own little sleeping situation, and life was grand. But it's really based upon where you are in your camping adventure. Here's the good thing that I love about Goombay and Goombay staff. They always have a Zoom so that they prepare you prior to every trip. They give you the list of all the essential items that you will need. They show you pictures that give you examples of what type of tents you should have, what type of stakes you should have. Then they also tell you about what you should have for food, what you should have for just your basic necessities. That is just a Goombay vibe thing that they do. They also will tell you, we're there to help you, we're there to support you. But here's the thing about Goombay that I love. They teach you how to fish. So they don't just say, okay, buy the stuff and we'll set it up for you. No, they're going to show you the proper way to do it. They're going to assist you. They're going to help you. They never leave no man behind. So for me and my equipment, it's based upon where they're going and my personal comfort level.
So, Kat, let me ask you about this because obviously for someone who's never done this before, because Butch mentioned going to the Shenandoah. I've been going to the Shenandoah with my family since I was a kid. And when you go, one of the things that has never changed is there's wildlife out there. Okay, there are bears, there are deer, there may be even some kind of, eastern mountain lion. And I think
You're doing too much.
Yeah, I mean, listen,
But that's what people think. That's yes.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them. We're talking, Western Virginia, the Shenandoah, the Appalachian Mountain line. That is the wilderness. Even if it's a national park, it is still a wilderness. So what is it that you tell people about being safe from wildlife? Also, certainly weather can turn in a moment, particularly when you're talking about in upper elevations of camping. Kind of give me the safety rundown.
So preparation is one of the key things. So, and part of, like Darlene was talking about, when we run down the list of things you have, we also make sure we prepare them. So if the weather shifts, if we know that there's rain coming in, we tell them that, the gear that you want to have with you, these are the things that we're going to do. Rain, sun, rainstorm, shine. This is what we're doing. So we make sure that they're prepared in that way. And then as it relates to safety, it really comes down to, paying attention to your surroundings. And with the areas that we've camped out in, that I've only experienced on one of our hikes seeing a snake one time. And that was on Rattlesnake Trail when we were doing a 12-mile hike.
Well, of course.
That was of course, right? When I saw it, and this was the second time we had been on that particular trail. And but the first time in all the years that I had been hiking that I had actually seen a snake. So I don't lie to them. We don't lie and tell you that these things aren't possible, but the likelihood of you seeing them isn't there. But this is what you do if you do. One of the things that you always want to make sure one of the admin know, if you see something, make sure you say something. And then as it relates to like bears. Now, bears, we may see a cub somewhere, nowhere near us, but off to the side. And our thing is they're not there, not somebody's little baby that you're going to cuckoo at because that cub's mama is somewhere around. So you stay your distance, make noise, because they're more afraid of us than we're afraid of them. We just don't know it. So when we don't have those bears that are just going to come and be aggressive with us and attack, not in the Shenandoah. When you go up to the Blue Ridge now, different parts, that might be a different story. But where we generally camp at, that's not going to be the situation. And then when it comes to the campsite, we prepare them and show them how and what they need to do with their food, because that's really where it comes into play, because we know that they are out there. The animals are out there. It's just that they're afraid of people. But if you leave food out for them at night, when you go up in that tent, if you leave it out, they can easily come through that campsite and go rummage through and rummage through the food. So, at times we'll teach them how to put the bear bag up so it keeps your food at a high level. And that way, if the bear comes, they can't get up to it. Other times it's just a matter of packaging up, sealing it up, and making sure you don't leave it out. So we do prepare them in the Zoom calls beforehand, and then even at the campsite. Teach them, prepare them, and teach them. Provide them with the tools they need. Make sure that they pay attention and listen. Hopefully they listen. Usually, if anything ever happens, it's somebody that wants to, do something they ain't got no business doing. But that's a rarity.
But honestly, as long as I've ever been out there, we've never had any animal encounter except when we go beach camping and you have the wild horses.
Oh, the horses.
That's it. And they'll come
Say
in.
that again now, beach camping and
the wild horses. We're on Assateague Island, yeah.
Right. So the horses will come through.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Yeah. So they'll come through sometimes and they'll dig in your stuff and but they're really harmless. I mean, the campers have a good time seeing them, but I've never ran into any wildlife going out there. I remember that rattlesnake. And we may see some bear on the side of the road driving through Shenandoah, but never in our campsite, Maybe because we bring so many people.
But let me ask you about something else that I think that a lot of people may be concerned about, because as I said, this is camping for the culture. These are Black people going out into, the wilderness, and it's one thing if you're camping at the park in Greenbelt or Watkins Park. It's another thing when you are going out into more, remote areas. And I think that, some people may be concerned if it's just Black people, and you may encounter some people who do not look like us, who may not want us there.
And that happens.
So talk to me about that, because because a lot of people would be concerned.
So I've learned two things. My very first trip was a whitewater rafting trip in 1990, and it was 30 of us, and we were down in Harper's Ferry. We were having a good time in July, and the locals on the side of the river decided that we didn't belong. So of course they shouted the N-word to us, go home, and we were a little worried, but we were on the water, and our guide said, hey, don't worry about those folks. Let's just keep paddling. So you will see some of that, but this was, like I said, this was 1990. The other thing I've learned is that I don't really do a lot of big campgrounds where there's a lot of people. I try to find places that are private and places that are away from other groups of people, because when we go camping, we have a tendency to have a good time. So we can be a little loud. We want to talk all night by the fire. And sometimes it disturbs other people because they don't understand our culture. So then they want to call the Rangers. And I've been, earlier in my camp career, we've been kicked out of campgrounds before because we're making too much noise. So I've just learned to try to stay in our own environment. We backpack in the middle of the woods. We're not disturbing anybody. We do private campgrounds like Camp Palooza. We're not disturbing anybody, So, but yeah, I'm always cautious about going to other campgrounds with other folks around.
Well, I think that's an important thing. Go ahead, Kat.
I was saying, we're very attentive when we're going and we're driving to these campsites, and then we see an abundance of different signs, political signs. We understand where we're at. So we're always still cautious and making sure that we are paying attention to our surroundings. But we've never experienced anything on our campgrounds or anything where any of our campers have been exposed to any sort of issues from people that don't look like us or look like us. But we are aware of what areas we're in, because it's not predominantly the culture.
What about
Harold? I'm sorry, Harold. I just want to make one point about something that James said. When he mentioned about being kicked out of the campground, I want to preference that by saying that was 15, 20 years ago when people were not accustomed to seeing minorities in that type of an environment. And so it was more of I want to say a tactic of saying, you don't belong, so we need you to go. And so when he mentioned the noise level, whatever, it could just be more than 6 people at midnight having a conversation that made them uncomfortable. And so as we are now in the year of 2025, we culturally are very much aware of our surroundings, and we're very culturally aware. And he makes it very clear that there's quiet time. And he shuts it down. And so there is a quiet time period. And so at midnight, everything gets shut down, meaning if you're going to continue to have fireside conversations and chats, then you need to lower the decimals of your conversation. So that's a part of growing and growth, as Goombay has gone and learned, where we may go somewhere where we may not be accepted, but now you don't have to use that as a matter of force to remove us, because we adhere to all the guidelines and the rules of each park as they're stated.
And I think that is a good point, no matter who is out there camping.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a thing about, common courtesy. One thing that I do know about, wild camping areas, sound travels.
Yes.
It really does. And you may be surprised at just how well you may be heard if you are speaking at a regular conversational level, and you could be 50, 60 yards away and somebody can hear exactly what it is that you're saying. Because there really isn't anything like a building or traffic to mask what you're saying. And so I think that also is something that's really important. One of the other things that when you are out in the wild that people may be concerned about, Butch, is what about cell coverage?
Well, personally, I try to go to places that don't have self coverage.
That part.
I mean, because we're out in the woods, so we want to be away. We want to hear the crickets and the owls. I'll say that. We don't want it, but there are some places that do have it. You'll find them more in campgrounds, more so than when we go backpacking. If we go beach camping, there's not much of a cell service out there. So people, when they first get to an area that doesn't have much coverage, they get a little, they get a little bothered, but they soon understand that, okay, let me put my phone away. We're camping. Let me be at peace with nature and everybody around me. So
do you have a radio or something in the event that you need to, if somebody, falls down, gets hurt?
But we're generally, while right where we're at, that domicile location is what we may not have the best of range, but if we drive off or walk off into a certain area, we're usually able to get a better signal. That's generally what happens. And then we have walkie-talkie, so if a situation arises, we're able to communicate that way and take any necessary steps.
And Harold, I will say, especially for backpacking, we've done it so many times, and we go to places where we know the area. So if something ever happened, we know that, okay, Kat, I need to hike out and go get help. Me and so we'll hike out. You stay here with the other group. So we have like a routine that we all kind of know what to do in these situations, So that helps.
And but I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation about summer camping, but you do this pretty much year round.
Yes, yeah. We have I call it our winter camp, where we do our ugly sweater hike, and then we do our white elephant over in Prince William Forest. We've hiked out in the snow. I know Darlene's hiked out in the snow before, camped out in the snow. We hike in the snow. So, when I was growing up in Boy Scouts, I had a really rough troop, and we went camping every 3 weeks, no matter what the weather was. So I learned that, you can camp out in the snow and the cold, and we just prepare for it, So, yeah.
Sounds like the Army or the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
So,
except for you're paying for it. You're paying for the adventure.
So, which
that
brings
part.
me to the next thing, and because again, this does not sound cheap, and like any huge recreational activity, we're not talking about basketball and finding a court. This is like skiing. This is like scuba diving. This sounds really, really expensive. So, and I'm not talking about, paying, like a group like Goombay. I'm just talking about the equipment. Realistically, Butch, how much should someone who wants to do the real thing, and how much should they expect to invest in this?
And Kat, you can help me with this. I think for a first time
camper,
I think for a first time camper, once you get you can get used equipment too, or sometimes we'll rent equipment. Like we'll rent backpacks, tents, sleeping bags, but you're going to pay at least in the very beginning. I want to say 150, Kat. Does that sound about right?
It really depends on the camper. Okay, so when I first started, and I actually started with a backpacking camping trip, I just went all in. And I know me. I know I like adventure. I know I like challenge. I know I like to be outside. So I went to REI and I found some good sales, and I went ahead and purchased, my starting point. They laughed at my first tent. That thing went right back to Amazon when I got back because I had to learn. But for someone else, that is coming in and you're not sure, one of the things that we advise is rent the equipment. We have the essentials that you need. You bring yourself and you bring your food, or just bring yourself, and then you can, we got you on the food. And that's, we have sleeping bags, we have the pads, we have your tents. Those are your essentials that you need. So find out if you like it first. And the only thing you're spending is whatever the cost of the event is. Now, if you like it, then that's where we start giving you advice on how to make your purchases. Like REI is one of the great places to make purchases at, because they have a 365-day return policy. So you can purchase something today and return it on your 365th day, and you're fine. So, however, their prices aren't, it's not cheap. So, but they have their warehouse sales, they have their regular sales, then they have the additional discounts. Those are the times that you buy for them. But because we camp so much and do outdoor activities so much, and because the group is so big, there is a wealth of information where we always share different places to make purchases. So it can be every bit of $0, outside of what it costs to do the event, to thousands of dollars, depending on how intense of a camper you become. Because some of those tents can cost $500 easily, not on sale. And some can be that much on sale. Sleeping bags and sleeping pads can run you hundreds of dollars, depending on, what your comfort level is and how much you're willing to pay. Darlene is that glamper over there. I'm that one that I appreciate all the glamping, but I ain't got it in me. I'm your admin that's going to bring the things. The most that I'll do is that when we do the riverside or beach camping, and it's still simple because all I think about is everything I bring, I got to take back and I got to put out.
Okay.
I got to put it away. So I'm like, let's be simple. But yeah, it can go from everywhere. Like I said, $0, you bring yourself and pay for the event, all the way to thousands of dollars, just depending upon how intense of a camper you become,
I only have a few minutes left, and I'll ask Darlene about this, because you did say you've been doing this since you were a little girl, but now as a whole grown Black woman, when you go camping, what is it that it does for you?
Oh, wow, Harold. And that's interesting that you would ask me, because you should actually see the effects of it. It has brought me such a sense of peace. Um, I love the community. I love the vibe of it all. I really do. But I get an opportunity to just unplug. unwind. I don't have to worry about a phone call, an email, a text. I just unplug. And sometimes it has now become a part of my self-care program.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people are talking about mental health and things of that nature, it's such a freeing thing to just be outside amongst people who can also relate to just wanting to just be. No drama, no stress, just, you don't gotta worry about, listen, I'm not taking this away from anybody, but you don't gotta worry about doing your hair. You don't gotta worry, you gotta wear the same clothes tomorrow.
You gotta take a
Everybody
shower.
doing their basic hygiene. Everybody brushing their teeth and doing the essentials. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful Black girls rock. We not worried about is our hair done, lashes on. We ain't nobody wearing no
Nobody
makeup.
cares.
Okay. Nobody cares about that. Brothers walking around just being themselves. They ain't gotta brush their hair, have their beard trimmed. They ain't gotta get the sharp haircut on Friday because they might see. No, because you're amongst each other and you just have that common ground of just being respectful and honorable, and we just out here being minorities and want to just enjoy each other. And the nice thing about the vibe about Goombay is this: let's say you are new and you've never camped before. We will be like, girl, you better go to Walmart, get that sale, they get that Ozark Trail. Girl, don't worry about cooking. I got you. I'm going to bring extra food.
Mm-hmm.
I always have extra food. So there's always somebody in the group who you can go to for certain things. James brings a plethora of everything. He's got power stations, all this. If you need help with certain things, you better go to Kat because she got extra this, that, and the third. And that is the nice thing about it. Not worrying about your colleagues at work that's stabbing you in your back and trying to get ahead of you. We all want to see each other win and relax and have a great time.
All of that under the stars. James,
Yes.
James, I've got 30 seconds and I've got to wrap up. I'll let you have a quick final word.
Okay. Well, one thing I learned from going to summer camp, and I'll make this quick, is my old director used to always say, camp is therapy. We had a kid that ran away from camp at the last day at the bus. And my director was like, go find this kid. I don't know where he was. He was sitting in the middle of a field full of daisies, just picking daisies. I said, look, man, it's time to go. He was like, I don't want to go home. I love it here. And I had to talk to him and get him on the bus. But it's that being in the woods and being in nature that, you just can't duplicate, So I encourage everybody to come on out.
I want to thank all of you all for taking some time to talk to me and to educate me and our listeners. This Camping for the Culture, it's wonderful. Keep doing it. Butch, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Darlene, Kat, I really appreciate it.
We look forward to seeing you, Harold, at Riverside.
That's right.
We'll keep thinking about that.
We'll do the RV camping for you. We'll get you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
That is the Daily Drum for this Friday, September 5th. For News Director Renee Nash, I'm Harold Fisher. Good night and have a wonderful weekend.